When you hear the name Orlando, you probably think of theme parks, whether that be Disney World, Orlando Studios, or that one where Blackfish was filmed at. But if you were a Christian child in the early 2000s, you might think of a little place called the Holy Land Experience, or the HLE for short. The concept started in 1989 when Jesus told Marvin Rosenthal, a Baptist pastor, that he needed to build a theme park with no rides and to spare a lot of expense. So he bought land in Orlando and spent the 90s garnering as many donations as he could, which in hindsight probably wasn't enough. It started as nothing more than a convention center with a small 1,125-foot scale model of Jerusalem. Seeing as so many people loved the model, he decided to try and build a full-scale replica of Jerusalem in Jesus' time. Built just 1 mile from the less Jesus-themed Universal Studios and measuring 18.6 acres in size, the HLE opened in 2001 and registered as a non-profit company, allowing them to avoid taxes, which was something that the mouse wishes he could do. It instantly gained criticism due to Rosenthal repeatedly trying to convert everyone around him, including the local Jews, to Christianity, which surprisingly made them upset. The park opened with a museum and multiple theater venues with shows rotating throughout the day, as well as a single restaurant. If you were lucky enough to go on Thursday, you could even get in on a group prayer session. The entire park can be described as a biblical hall of presidents without AC or the impressive animatronics. They fell into controversy once again when they wouldn't hire non-Baptists. In response, the park said it didn't care whether they went to church, but they needed to determine if they had the right relationship with God, which just so happened to only include Baptists. Surprising everyone, the park didn't make much profit and needed to be sold to the Trinity Broadcasting Network for $37 million in 2007. After paying off the $8 million in debt they found themselves in and laying off a good portion of employees, TBN came up with the genius idea of adding more live shows and exhibits to try and generate more profit. They also added a movie studio to produce Christian films in hopes that no theme park had ever based their branding on a film studio before. If they had taken my idea of adding a 300-foot tall roller coaster called the Fear of God, or maybe Lucifer's Joyride, they probably would have been in the green, but because they didn't, they fell even further into the red. In 2012, due to TBN finally noticing that people didn't want to go to a theme park without rides, they added multiple attractions, and profits finally started to go up. Nah, I'm just kidding. They added a 2,000-seat amphitheater called the Church of All Nations, where you can see a live reenactment of Jesus' death and resurrection. More shows, oh boy. In the following years, the HLE was given a variety of measures to try and keep the ship from sinking. A second restaurant, daily cooking demonstrations, a rock wall but only for toddlers, a Bible-themed toy store, more praying, and of course, many more shows. But Scotch tape couldn't fix the holes in the Titanic, and Jack and Rose were going to be broken apart one way or another. In 2020, TBN finally gave up. They laid off all of their employees and started to sell off the land, and eventually the lush gardens and biblical monuments would become an office complex, just like God always intended. So what was the moral of the story? Capitalism kills religion? Christianity doesn't sell? Orlando tourism is hard to capture? Or maybe it's for the love of God, put rides into your theme park. Either way, it probably doesn't matter, and you just sat for minutes of me rambling about thing I find interesting. If you don't like and subscribe, I'm going to send you to the Holy Land Experience. We make daily content on this platform and TikTok, and more long-form videos coming soon. This has been the School for the Uninformed.